Well, hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In the last video we were looking at GitHub Actions and how we can integrate continuous integration into the CI environment inbuilt inside GitHub. In this tutorial we'll be looking at 3 different packages which I believe bring a bit more productivity in our code, and that is Xdist, which is going to help us to run tests concurrently. Currently we've been running one test at a time. This will help us to run tests in parallel. We're also going to look at Black or pytest-black, and this is a plugin that will help us to check our linting, or our code formatting before we push, and this is going to enable us to have a consistent styling across different commits or whenever many people are working on the same project. And the last one will be pytest-sugar, and this is just a nice way of displaying our pytest results. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the code. Okay, so currently, just to make sure that everything works from the last tutorial, I'm just going to run pytest. You can see we've collected 13 tests. They are running one by one, and whenever they run, we are getting this green past 100%. So I think let's start with pytest-sugar because I believe that's the easiest one to do. So I'm going to open here Chrome. I'm going to type pytest-sugar. I'm going to come to the GitHub repository. This is the most straightforward one because I believe we don't need to do any configuration, and you can see we are supposed now to get something like this. Whenever we have test, it's going to run all the tests inside that file and also give us something nice like this, which is way better than what we are having right now. So I'm just going to say pip install pytest-sugar. Okay, so that's done. In our example, I don't expect it to be very graphical as compared to what we have here because we only have a few tests, but let's run them to see. If we just run pytest, again for pytest-sugar we don't need to configure anything. We should see something different. Exactly. So let me maximize this. I'm going to clear. So if I do pytest, you can see instead of just saying passing, it's doing these bars and it's also writing the percentages, and we get a check mark. And again, this is way neat compared to the other. Again, it will also depend on which terminal you are running. In my case, I'm running it on Linux, on a Windows machine, on a Windows subsystem for Linux. If you are on a Mac OS computer, the graphics might be a bit different. Also, if you are running on another platform. So, yeah, so let me try to run on another terminal. This may work or may not work. I just want to see if it's going to be similar graphics to this. So I've opened here, this is called hyperterminal. I'm just going to go to my bash command. Then I'm going to go to projects. I'm going to cd into, it's called pytest, activate my environment. Just run pytest. Let me see if this is going to be same with this. So it's saying collecting. Okay, so seems it's the same with the other terminals I'm having, but again, oops, let me minimize this. Again, this is way better than what we had previously, and that's it for pytest-sugar. We don't need to configure anything. It comes by default. Okay, let's try this pytest verbose. Although I believe we had already I think we had already done that when we said pytest-v. I believe it's just going to be the same. And if we don't want to run without pytest-sugar, we write no sugar. So it's saying here, if you are seeing gibberish, you might want to try changing character set and fonts, and we see this comment. Again, the reason mine is a bit different, again, I'm on Windows, but there might be a way of installing fonts which we're supposed to install some few things, but I'm not going to do that for now. Okay, so that's done. So the second package we are going to look at is pytest-xdist. Okay, and I realize now in my title I put a hyphen here. We are not supposed to have a hyphen. So this is a distributed testing plugin, and what it does is helps us to run our test in concurrency or parallel. So to install, I just copy this. I'll come here. I'm going to install that. And the basic command that we need to run is pytest-n. Then we write the number of threads or how many CPUs want to run at the same time. So in this one, I'm going to clear, and I'm going to say pytest. I'm going to say -n. Then I'll say 4. I want to run 4 tests at a time. So when I click OK, you'll find it's saying GW0 up to 3. These are 4. Okay. And GW here means gateway. And you can see now it's going to run, it's running 4 tests at a time. And now you can find our tests run much faster compared to how it was doing before, and this is very helpful. Of course there's a limit, so if you do, for example, maybe like 8, it will depend on how powerful your computer is. So this at a certain limit it may work or it may not work, so it's going to initialize them. So this is usually helpful whenever you have hundreds or thousands of tests. Is usually good to run with xdist because you are able to run all of them concurrently. In this case, because we have a few tests, it really doesn't matter how many cores we use because the test time will be almost similar. Okay, cool. So that's one of the other packages. It helps us run in parallel. The last one we are going to look at is black. Now, before I go to black, you might realize whenever I come and hit Control-Shift-P inside VS Code, then I write, I believe is format. If I click on format document, it's going to format my document, and there's 3 things that VS Code uses. So if I come to settings and I say format, I search format, I look at where is that? I look at Python. You'll find that it has AutoPep 8, it has black, and there's this one, I don't know how to pronounce this. And by default, let's see which default one we've selected. I'm just going to type black. And you can see that in my editor, the default provider is black, and I can select the other ones. AutoPep 8 is what used to be the most used one, but nowadays black, in my opinion, is the better one. And so what this means is that this is what has been helping us to edit our code. So for example, if I come and space here, if I come and put this in a new, I format like that. If I click save, you see it's formatted to the correct one. So one of the things that we'll be doing whenever we are pushing code to GitHub, either through GitHub Actions or now testing locally, is good that we test the format so that we ensure that it's consistent throughout all the documents, regardless of who writes it. So I'm going to come and say pip install. I'm going to say pytest-black. Okay. And now if I run pytest and I say -n4 so that I run 4 at a time, then I say --black, it's apart from just running the test, it's going to check our formatting in all the documents. And I expect a lot of documents to fail because I've not been formatting them, up to now. Okay, let's see. So you can see it's running the tests. Some of them are black format. If you look at like this one is written black format, like that one. Okay, and now you can see some of them have started to fail. You can see the red, and it's telling us which. Okay, so it's saying we have 32 passing tests. This is tests plus format, but we have 4 files that are not formatted correctly. The first one being API serializers.py. So, and this is in classroom. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to close this. Classroom, I go to API folder, I go to serializers. So it's saying this is not formatted correctly. So what I'm going to go is Control-Shift-P, I say format document. And also we need to have 1 space at the end, not 2. So I'm going to save that. So if I come and run this again, and I just say classroom, so that we save time. I only want to test this folder because it seems all the black ones have failed in the classroom folder. Run that, wait for it to finish. So at least now we should have 3 failing ones because we fixed serializers, we've done Control-Shift-P format, and we've also put 1 space at the end. We need to only have 1. Let's see. Okay, we still have failing ones. Let's see how many. Now we have 3 failed files. So then we go to classroom API views. We come to this file. Again, Control-Shift-P format. Again, we check how many empty lines are at the end. We need to have 1. I save that. I run this again. I'm going to remove the concurrency because it's a few tests. Okay, wait for that to finish. Now I should have 2 failing tests in 2 files. Black is running. Now I have 2 failing files. The third one is test views. So this is in our actual tests. We need to format this. So Control-Shift-P, format document. It has formatted, and we also make sure it's 1 line. I think I should find a plugin on VS Code that only limits 1 extra line. That will make our lives much easier, because sometimes when you format with black, it does not actually, let me check, it does not trim all the. So I'm going to look at trim. So yeah, when enabled, we'll trim all new lines after the final new line. Okay, let's try with this. I'm going to come to views, I'm going to add a couple, save. Yes, so okay, so that was in our settings all along. Now I expect if I run this to only have 1, which is in migrations. Okay, run, everything should be okay. I'm going to close all of this. And now you see we only have 1, oops, terminal. We only have now 1 failing format check, and this is in migrations. But here the problem is migration files is an auto-generated file, and we don't need to be formatting that or messing around with that. So, but how do we tell pytest-black to ignore this folder called migration? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to search pytest-black, and I think black is one of the most awesome packages there is. So we've installed that, we are running that. Okay, we are saying for configuration we can override the default black configuration with a pyproject.toml file, and we see this example here. Okay, so we have this pyproject.toml. So I'm going to create this file. So this is similar to a pytest.ini file, but this caters for black. So I'm going to come here, file, new file. I'm going to save this inside here. I'm going to say pyproject.toml, save, Oops, need to rename this to that. Okay, so and I need to close that. Okay, and this needs to be in the root directory, by the way. It needs to be where pytest.in is. So I'm going to come to here. I'm going to copy what has been given here, and we are going to go line by line just to check. So I'm going to paste this here. This is the default one. Okay, so it's saying this is an example configuration for black. I don't know if there's an extension to look for toml files, so let me search that. Yeah, I'm going to install that. Seems the famous one. So yeah, so that we can have syntax highlighting. So note, you have to use single quoted strings in toml for regular expressions. So we have tool.black, line length is 88. This is the number of lines before it cuts back. Target version, we are looking at Python 3.6, 3.7 and 3.8. That's okay. This is the folders that we need to exclude. Okay, I need to come back to terminal here. So here we have an important thing of all the files that we need to ignore. It's saying the following files are specific to black. You probably don't want those. So I'm just going to copy them as they are, and I'm going to do that. But here I want to add, here we are skipping migrations, and here let me put I believe it's supposed to be dot. So whenever you have a \dot, it means ignore all the files that all the folders that have the word egg. So it can be many folders that are nested inside. We ignore that. I might be right, I might be wrong, I'm not sure. So let me run that. If not, then we're just going to write migrations as it is. So it's still running that. What if I just do migrations? There's a short form of writing this. So if this fails, I'm just going to Google for the short form, then I'm going to come and paste it back. So it seems it's still failing. So I'm going to we don't need this. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to pause the video, then I'm going to Google for a short form of excluding files, then I'm going to come back and paste it here. Just give me a second. Okay guys, so I found one and I'm just going to paste it here, and I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to remove this as well. So this is an example of an exclude, and it's in one line and it's not in multiple lines. Here we are ignoring the VNV and migrations. Again, don't ask me how this makes sense. This is just the toml way, and I'm also ignoring a file called api-clean.py. So for example, if you wanted to skip a certain file, let's say ascii.py, I can just come here and no, if we want to skip files that have a certain name and which is similar, let's say underscore settings, so I can just come here and say underscore. By the way, we don't need to check syntax for settings. So for example, so I can say settings.py, and now it's going to skip GitHub settings and local settings. Okay, so let me run now. I'm actually going to to deactivate my environment first, then I'm going to activate it. I'm going to clear my terminal. Oops, clear fuck. Okay, what I was just demonstrating there, there's a cool package in ZH called, you know, the F word, and what you do is once you misspell, you just, you know, oops, mess that. Okay, so can do I meant to say clear, So I can type that, then it's going to suggest the correct one, which is clear. I just write enter and now it's cleared. So I'm going to run pytest and I say black classroom. Okay, so it's collecting, it's going to run that. Yes, and now you can see it skipped the migrations file, and now everything is okay. Perfect. So now we've looked at 3 packages. I'm going to save all of this. I'm going to say this is for black so that we can push this to GitHub. So this was all black formatting, and also this. We need to save the. I'm going to say pip freeze. Requirements.txt, and here we've added xdist, we've added sugar and black, and now I can push this to origin. So okay, so I'm going to come back to GitHub so that we can wind up. If I refresh this again, I expect to see the latest commit, and I can come to details. So again, as we wind up this video, there's a lot more Pytest plugins. The list is actually quite endless. I believe if you just come and Google Pytest, there's literally, if not hundreds of them. These are just, let's see. Yeah, so we have all these plugins that you can use. So we've only used this. There's Pytest Watch. This is a cool one because what it does is, instead of every time typing here Pytest, you can just use it and it will be on watch mode, similar to what JavaScript environments are. And there's literally many more that you can be able to check out and test it. But in our case, we've only done those 3. I'm going to come back to GitHub. We can see that everything works in our tests. All of them worked correctly. And now if we come to our code, we can see that it's passing, and here our badge is saying it's passing. Again, thank you so much for following my channel. If you're finding me for the first time, please click on the subscribe button. We are now almost towards the end of this series. I think I'll just do maybe 2 more videos, then we end up. And again, please make sure to follow me on my social media profiles, and I look forward in seeing you in the next video. Bye.